I was standing on her porch when she said it. I'm scared, Daniel. The rain was coming down hard. Water ran off the edge of her roof like a curtain between us and the rest of the world. Her hand was on the door frame. Mine was reaching toward her. Then jump, I said. I won't let you fall. She looked at me for a long time. Her eyes were wet, but I couldn't tell if it was tears or just the rain that had blown onto her face. Maybe loving you isn't a mistake, she whispered. And that's when I knew. After all these years. After everything I'd done wrong. After all the time I'd wasted. She still felt it too. But let me tell you how we got here. Because this didn't start on a rainy night. It started 23 years ago, in a hospital waiting room, when I made the worst choice of my life. Before we continue, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and comment where you are watching from. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. My daughter was born on a Tuesday. I wasn't there. I was in a meeting about a contract that would make me a partner at the firm. A meeting I thought I couldn't miss. A meeting that, looking back now, meant absolutely nothing. Sarah called me 3 times. I saw her name light up my phone. I saw it, and I sent her to voicemail. All 3 times. When I finally called back, 2 hours later, my mother answered Sarah's phone. You have a daughter, she said. Her voice was flat, cold. Is Sarah okay? I asked. She's fine. The baby's fine. They're both fine. There was a long silence. Your wife needed you, Daniel. And you weren't here. I left the meeting. I drove to the hospital, so fast I'm lucky I didn't get pulled over. But when I got to Sarah's room, when I saw her holding our baby girl, when I saw the way she looked at me, it wasn't anger. It was something worse. It was disappointment. Her name is Emma, Sarah said quietly. I picked it myself. I tried to apologize. I tried to explain. But Sarah just smiled a tired, sad smile and said, Hold your daughter, Daniel. I held Emma for the first time, and I felt something break open inside me. Something I didn't know was closed. She was so small, so perfect. Her tiny fingers wrapped around my thumb, and I thought, I will never let you down again. But I did. Over and over I did. Comment below. Have you ever missed a moment you can never get back? The years went by fast. Too fast. Emma grew. Sarah and I grew apart. I kept working. I kept climbing. I made partner. Then senior partner. I bought us a bigger house. A nicer car. I thought I was building a life for them. But I wasn't there for dinner. I wasn't there for bedtime stories. I wasn't there when Emma took her first steps, said her first word, lost her first tooth. Sarah stopped calling me at work. She stopped asking me to come home early. She stopped expecting me. And one night, when Emma was 7 years old, Sarah sat me down at the kitchen table and said, I want a divorce. I stared at her. What? I can't do this anymore, Daniel. I feel like I'm raising Emma alone. I feel like I'm living alone. You're here, but you're not really here. I'm working for us, I said. For you and Emma. No, Sarah said softly. You're working for you. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her she was wrong. But deep down, I knew she was right. We split everything down the middle. The house. The savings. The time with Emma. Sarah moved across town. I stayed in the house that suddenly felt too big and too quiet. Emma spent weekdays with Sarah and weekends with me. But even when she was with me, I could feel the distance. She was polite. She was sweet. But she didn't run to me the way she used to. She didn't climb into my lap and ask me to read to her. I had lost her trust. And I didn't know how to get it back. 5 years after the divorce, I met Claire. She was a client. Smart, confident, beautiful. She didn't need me, and I liked that. She had her own career, her own life. We started dating, and it felt easy. Simple. Sarah had started dating too. A man named Tom. He was a teacher. Kind. Patient. The kind of man who probably never missed a school play. Emma liked him. I could tell. And that hurt more than I wanted to admit. Claire and I got married 2 years later. It was a small ceremony. Emma was there. She wore a blue dress and smiled in all the photos. But when I hugged her that day, she felt stiff in my arms. You okay, sweetheart? I asked. I'm fine, Dad, she said. But she wasn't. And I knew it. Claire and I had a son. We named him Oliver. He was born on a Thursday. I was there. I held Claire's hand. I cut the cord. I did everything I was supposed to do. But even as I held my son for the first time, I thought about Emma. I thought about the day I missed. The day I could never get back. Emma loved Oliver. She was 16 by then, and she would come over on weekends and hold him, feed him, sing to him. She was so gentle with him. So patient. "You're good at this," I told her once. She looked up at me and smiled. "Mom taught me." It was a simple sentence, but it felt like a knife. Claire and I lasted 6 years. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't really mine either. We just weren't right. We were two people who liked each other, but didn't love each other. Not the way you're supposed to love someone you marry. When we separated, it was calm. Civil. We agreed to share custody of Oliver. She moved to an apartment downtown. I stayed in the house. And once again, I was alone. Emma was 25 when I saw Sarah again. Really saw her. It was at Emma's college graduation. Sarah was there with Tom. I was there alone. We sat on opposite sides of the auditorium, but after the ceremony, we ended up in the same crowd, waiting for Emma to come out. "Congratulations," I said. Sarah smiled. "You too." Tom shook my hand. He was polite, friendly. I wanted to hate him, but I couldn't. He was exactly the kind of man Sarah deserved. Emma came out in her cap and gown, and she hugged Sarah first. Then Tom. Then me. "I'm so proud of you," I said. "Thanks, Dad." We took pictures. We went to dinner. And for a few hours, it almost felt like we were a family again. But we weren't. 2 years later, Tom died. Heart attack. Sudden. He was only 54. I found out from Emma. She called me crying and said, "Dad, can you come over? Mom needs us." I drove to Sarah's house. The same house she'd lived in since the divorce. The same house where Emma had grown up without me. Sarah was sitting on the couch. Her sister was there. A few friends. Everyone was quiet. I didn't know what to say. So I just sat down next to her. "I'm sorry," I said. She nodded. She didn't look at me. She just stared at her hands. Emma sat on her other side. She was holding Sarah's hand. And I realized in that moment how much I had missed. How many years I hadn't been there. How much of Sarah's life I didn't know anymore. But I also realized something else. I still loved her. I had never stopped. I started calling Sarah after that, just to check in. "How are you doing?" I'd ask. "I'm okay," she'd say. At first, the calls were short, polite, but slowly they got longer. She told me about her job. She was a school counselor now. She told me about her garden, about the book club she'd joined, about how much she missed Tom. I told her about Oliver, about work, about how quiet the house was. "Do you ever feel lonely?" I asked her once. There was a pause. "Every day," she said. 6 months after Tom died, I asked Sarah to meet me for coffee. She said yes. We met at a small cafe near her house. She was already there when I arrived, sitting by the window. She looked older, but not in a bad way. She looked peaceful, like she'd learned something I was still trying to figure out. "Hi," I said. "Hi, Daniel." We ordered coffee. We talked about Emma, about Oliver, about the weather. And then finally, I said what I'd been wanting to say for years. "I'm sorry, Sarah." She looked at me. "For what?" "For everything. For not being there. For missing Emma's birth. For all the dinners I missed, all the nights I worked late. For making you feel like you didn't matter." She was quiet for a long time. "I needed to hear that," she said softly. "But it doesn't change what happened." "I know. And it doesn't mean we can go back." "I know." She looked down at her coffee. "So why are you saying it now?" "Because I never did," I said. "And I should have. A long time ago." She nodded. And then, to my surprise, she smiled. "Thank you," she said. We started meeting for coffee once a week. Then twice a week. Then we started taking walks. Long, slow walks through the park near her house. We didn't talk about getting back together. We didn't talk about the past, not really. We just talked. About life. About getting older. About what we wanted now. "I don't want to be alone forever," Sarah said one day. "Me neither. But I'm scared," she said. "I'm scared of trusting someone again. Of letting someone in and having them leave." I stopped walking. I turned to face her. "I left once," I said. "I know I did. But I'm not that person anymore, Sarah. I'm not asking you to forget what I did. I'm just asking you to let me prove I've changed." She looked at me for a long time. "I don't know if I can," she said. It was Emma who pushed us together. She invited both of us to dinner at her apartment. She didn't tell either of us the other would be there. When I walked in and saw Sarah sitting on the couch, I almost turned around. But Emma grabbed my arm. "Sit down, Dad." I sat. Sarah looked just as surprised as I was. Emma stood in front of us, arms crossed. Okay, she said. I'm only going to say this once. You two are being ridiculous. Emma, Sarah started. No, Mom. Listen. I know Dad messed up. I know he wasn't there when I was growing up. I know he hurt you. But he's here now. He's been here. And I see the way you look at him when you think no one's watching. Sarah's face went red. Emma turned to me. And you, Dad. You've spent 20 years feeling guilty. And I forgive you. I forgave you a long time ago. But you need to forgive yourself. And you need to stop being scared. I'm not scared, I said. Yes, you are, Emma said. You're scared that you don't deserve her. But you know what? Maybe you don't. But she still loves you. And that should be enough. She looked at both of us. Life is short. Tom taught me that. You don't get unlimited chances. So stop wasting time. And then she walked into her bedroom and closed the door. Sarah and I sat there in silence. She's a lot like you, I said finally. Sarah laughed. A real laugh. She's a lot like both of us. Sarah, I said. I don't want to pressure you. I don't want to rush you. But Emma's right. Life is short. And I don't want to waste any more time pretending I don't love you. She looked at me. Her eyes were wet. Say that again, she said. I love you. I thought I'd never hear you say that again, she whispered. I'll say it every day if you let me. She smiled. A real full smile. The kind I hadn't seen in years. Maybe loving you isn't a mistake, she said softly. We took it slow. We didn't move in together right away. We didn't rush into anything. We just dated. Like we were young again. Like we were meeting for the first time. I took her to dinner. To the movies. To the beach. We held hands. We laughed. We talked about everything. Our fears, our regrets, our hopes. I'm not the same person I was, I told her one night. I know, she said. Neither am I. And that's okay. We don't need to be who we were. We just need to be who we are now. Oliver loved having Sarah around. He called her Miss Sarah at first, but eventually he started calling her Sarah. And then one day he asked me, Is Sarah going to be part of our family? I hope so, I said. Me too, he said. She makes you happy. And he was right. She did. A year later, I asked her to marry me. Not with a big proposal. Not with a crowd. Just the two of us, sitting on her porch on a quiet Sunday morning. I know I already married you once, I said. And I know I messed it up. But I'd like to try again. Not because I want to fix the past, but because I want to build a future. With you. She looked at me. She didn't answer right away. Are you sure? She asked. I've never been more sure of anything. She smiled. Then yes. We got married 6 months later. It was small. Just Emma, Oliver, Sarah's sister, my mother. We stood in Sarah's backyard, under the tree Tom had planted years ago. Emma stood next to Sarah. Oliver stood next to me. And when the officiant said, You may kiss your bride, I kissed Sarah like I should have kissed her every single day for the last 23 years. We didn't get a perfect ending. Life isn't like that. There were hard days. Days when old wounds resurfaced. Days when I felt the weight of all the years I'd lost. But there were more good days. Days when I woke up next to Sarah and felt grateful. Days when Emma called just to talk. Days when Oliver ran into the room and said, Dad, come see what Sarah and I made. We became a family. Not the family we were before, but a new family. A chosen family. Sarah retired from counseling and started volunteering at a community center. I cut back my hours at work. We traveled. We spent weekends with Emma. We watched Oliver grow. And every night, before we went to sleep, I told her the same thing. I love you. And she always said, I love you too. One evening, about 5 years after we remarried, Sarah and I were sitting on the porch. The same porch where I'd stood in the rain. The same porch where she'd said, Maybe loving you isn't a mistake. Do you ever think about how different things could have been? I asked. Sometimes, she said. But I try not to. We can't change the past, Daniel. We can only live in the present. I wasted so much time, I said. We both did, she said. But we have time now. And that's what matters. She took my hand. You told me to jump, she said. That you wouldn't let me fall. And you didn't. You caught me. And you kept catching me. I always will, I said. She smiled. I know. If you're listening to this story, maybe you're like I was. Maybe you've made mistakes. Maybe you've hurt someone you love. Maybe you've lost time you can't get back. I can't tell you it's easy to fix things. I can't tell you that love solves everything. But I can tell you this. It's never too late to try. It's never too late to say I'm sorry. It's never too late to choose love. Sarah could have said no. She could have kept her walls up. She could have decided I didn't deserve a second chance. But she didn't. She jumped. And I caught her. Not because I was perfect. Not because I had all the answers. But because I loved her. And because she loved me. And in the end, that was enough. I'm older now. My hair is gray. My hands aren't as steady as they used to be. But every morning, I wake up next to the woman I love. The woman I lost. The woman I found again. Emma is married now. She has 2 kids of her own. Oliver is in college, studying to be a teacher. And Sarah and I, we sit on the porch and watch the sun go down. We hold hands. We talk about everything and nothing. And every single day, I think about that rainy night. The night she looked at me and said, "Maybe loving you isn't a mistake." She was right. It wasn't a mistake. It was the best decision either of us ever made. The end. So if you're standing on someone's porch right now, wondering if you should knock. If you're holding your phone, wondering if you should call. If you're scared of being hurt again, scared of taking the risk. Let me tell you what I learned. Jump. And trust that the person who loves you will catch you. Because maybe, just maybe, loving them isn't a mistake at all. Maybe it's the only thing that was ever real.